All right, so we'll stretch out on your back. A little bit of height under your head is nice. You know, like a little blanket or something is comfortable, but not necessarily required. And just take a nice, comfortable Supta Tadasana, supine mountain pose. So essentially just extend the legs, tighten the kneecaps into the thighs. Have your big toe mounds and big toes touching. If possible, it's optional to have your ankles and heels touching. I like having my heels a little bit apart. And then lift the chest up, lift the inner edge of the shoulder blades away from the floor and take the outer shoulders down into the floor. So it just kind of opens up the chest. And then hug the right knee into the chest. Take it easy on yourself. We're just getting comfortable here. Be aware of keeping the sacrum, the very low back, left and right sides evenly on the floor. Shoulder blades evenly on the floor. Back of the head balanced evenly on the floor. And then back through Supta Tadasana to the other side. Hug the left knee up into the chest, changing the interlace of your fingers as you do. Draw that left knee into the chest as you extend the right heel away. Extend the right big toe mound away. Keep the right kneecap firm into the thigh. Again, left and right sides of the sacrum evenly on the floor. Shoulder blades evenly on the floor. The point at the back of the head balanced evenly on the floor. And then return to Supta Tadasana. Extend both legs out onto the floor. And then again, hug the right knee into the chest. Extend the left heel away. Just breathe quietly, comfortably here. And then to the second side. Changing the interlace of the fingers, hug that left knee into the chest, extend the right heel away. And then return that leg to the floor. And now hug both knees into the chest. So now the idea here is to play with this a little bit. With your knees hugged into your chest, see if you can kind of extend your sit bones down toward the floor, which will have the effect of bringing more of your sacrum into contact with the floor. Makes it a little harder to keep the knees well up into the chest. It kind of pulls the knees away a little bit. So go ahead then and kind of holding each knee by one hand each, kind of take the knees a little ways away from your chest and allow yourself to kind of roll the sit bones down toward the floor. So this also then amplifies the gap in the low back, the space between your low spine there, the lumbar spine, and the floor. So you've got that. Now keep that kind of movement of the sit bones down that way. And then again, kind of pull the knees into the chest. So it's a different feel. The knees won't move much into the chest for most of us as you do that. But it sort of brings a connection to the groins. And then just hug the knees all the way back up into the chest again. That will bring the sit bones up a little. And now as you're focusing on drawing your knees into your chest, Now, keeping the knees into the chest, see if you can lower the sit bones back the way you had them just a moment ago. And you can see how it really kind of attacks the groins. Gently, but it's there. All right, and then release that. Keep your knees bent, feet on the floor, and just be at ease for a few breaths. Okay, so now we'll go into a pose that most of you are familiar with. We're going to extend the left leg out onto the floor, hug the right knee into the chest. And then we're going to take the right hand arm inside the right knee and thigh and reach across to the little toe edge of the foot. And then you bring that right heel directly above the right knee. And then you draw down. You draw down with the foot, taking the knee toward the floor. This is going to be pretty intense. And then release, extend both legs out onto the floor, hug the left knee into the chest. And then the same thing, take the left hand and arm inside the left knee, reach over to the little toe edge of the left foot, and then bring that left heel right up above, directly above the left knee. And then you draw that knee down toward the floor. Keep the right leg straight. Keep the right side of the sacrum on the floor. And release both legs out onto the floor. And one more time to each side. So we'll hug that right knee into the chest, extend the left heel out onto the floor, and then reach inside that right knee and thigh, catch the little toe edge of the foot, bring that right heel up directly above the right knee, and then draw that knee down toward the floor as best you can. Keep the knee in as much as you can, really in contact with your right arm, perhaps. For some people, it flails out, but do your best. Keep it all kind of coherent and connected. Keep that left leg extended straight, and then release. Both feet on the floor. Hug the left knee into the chest, extending the right leg straight. Take that left arm and hand inside the left knee thigh, catch the foot, bring that left heel up directly over the left knee, and then draw that left knee down toward the floor while keeping the right thigh extending and keeping that right side of the sacrum on the floor. And then release. Extend both legs out onto the floor, and then just let your legs and feet fall out to the side. So just take a few breaths. Okay, and then bend your knees, roll to your side, and come up to a standing posture. Now I'm going to use a wall for this. It's not required. Actually, I'll do it without the wall. But this is the one where we're going to do the same thing, that pavanmuktanasan, only now standing. So you can use the wall and bring your knee up like so. As I've said in other classes, this is a really good way to get relief in your low back. So you can use a wall, but the wall is optional. So I'm going to do it away from the wall, which requires a certain amount of balance. So again, feel free to use a wall or not as you wish. But take your Tadasana standing pose. Kneecaps firm into the thighs, torso lifts, chest open. Lift the front pelvic bones just a bit. Take the tailbone forward. Take the floating ribs back. Skin and muscles of the buttocks down. Lift the chest, open the chest. So keep as much of that as you can, and then bring your right knee up, hug it into your chest. So you see it's the same pose as we started with, only now we're standing up. And then return to Tadasana, standing pose. And take the left knee up, changing the interlace of the fingers and finding your balance. It helps to stare across the room at some unmoving point or object. At least I find that it does. Again, feel free to use the wall if you're struggling with balance. Back to Tadasana. And back to the right side. Hug that right knee up. Keep that left leg straight. Keep the chest lifting and open. And back to Tadasana. And to the second side. Take that left knee up, changing the interlace of the fingers. Draw that left knee up and into the chest. Right leg straight. And back to Tadasana. All right, I'm going to check my notes. Okay, I want to do the kind of modified hero pose, Virabhadrasana. I'm going to go ahead and do it facing into the camera, but you can also see how it looks on the side angle of the thing. So I think we can all do this together. Start toward the back of your mat with your feet just a little bit apart. Turn your left foot out and take a big step forward with your right foot. And then come down with your left knee to the floor. You may need a blanket or something under there. I think I'm going to go with the blanket because it is kind of hard on my hardwood floor here. So the right knee is bent, the left leg extends back, and the torso lifts up. Now what I want to do is go ahead and just bend that right knee and kind of get that full extension through that left groin. So you keep the torso lifting. So you're really kind of extending. Normally you don't want the right knee to go past the ankle, but here, since we're not really weight bearing much, it's okay. And it helps us to get the stretch through here and a stretch through the groin seam on the right side. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and step back into downward dog. And then take the right knee down and the left foot forward. And come up again in this modified warrior one, Virabhadrasana 1. And again, then take that left knee forward. So you get that stretch through the right groin and sometimes through the left as well. All right, back to downward dog. And then left knee down, right foot forward. We'll do again. So we come up and move that right knee forward, and then bring your arms up. This kind of destabilizes the pose. It kind of forces you to engage the groins to maintain stability. And then hands back to the floor. and step back again to downward dog. And then right knee down, left foot forward, left knee extends forward, and then bring the arms up into this modified warrior, Virabhadrasana 1. And then back to the floor. And then downward facing hero pose, Adho Mukha Virasana, just for a little rest. So knees apart, big toes touch, sit back on your heels, take your head down. So here we can rest, but we're still doing a little kind of groin work at the same time. All right, we'll come up from there. We'll stand up again and grab a chair, if you have one. You can do it without a chair. We'll do our pavanmuktanasan in a chair, is preferable. So like so. We'll sit on the edge of the chair, but firmly with your sit bones fully on the chair, so you're not going to slip off. And your feet are wide. Your feet are out at the edges of your mat, and the little toe edge of your feet basically parallel and aligned with the little toe, the edge of your sticky mat. And then we sit up tall and upright. And then let's bring the arms up overhead. Inhale. Exhale, rotate through the hips and take your hands down to the floor in front of you. Look forward. Arch the low back. Extend the navel and sternum as far forward as you can. Again, inhale. With the exhale, fold, rotate through the hips into the pose, pavanmuktanasan. You can bring your hands back a bit. We're going to end up reaching back for the chair legs the next time through. You can do that now if you like. But basically, just be in this place, rotated through the hips. And then ease your way up. Take a couple breaths. And again, extend the arms up. Inhale, exhale, rotate through the hips, hands to the floor, look forward, arch the low back, lengthen the navel and sternum, out, forward. Get as much length as you can. And then with an exhale, continue the rotation through the hips. If you like now, you can reach back and grab the chair legs and use that as a little leverage to kind of pull yourself through between your legs. Breathe here. If grabbing the chair legs is too much, it's fine. Just leave your hands on the floor. And then ease your way back up. Take a few breaths. And we'll do that one more time. Bring the arms up. Inhale. Exhale. Rotate through the hips. Go all the way through. Reach back. Catch the chair legs if you're doing that. And just draw yourself forward into the pavanmuktanasan. And then again, ease yourself up. Just sit comfortably for a few breaths. And then again, we'll stand. Move your chair out of the way. We'll get back to it in a little bit. Actually, you know, I'm going to keep the chair close by so I can show you an alternative for people who have a hard time doing this pose. So I'm going to keep mine nearby, and if you decide to use yours, you can as well. Let me actually demonstrate it with the chair first, so that way, for people who want to use a chair, they can. We're going to do a lightning bolt pose or utkatasana, powerful pose. So one way you can do it is basically just by sitting on the chair and bringing your arms up like so. So this is a perfectly good beginning way to do the pose. If you're doing that, then sometimes you can just kind of lift up and then just sit back down if it's tiring for you. So this is a very good way to do this pose or to learn how to do it. So that's available to anyone who wishes. Now, before we do, just watch. So you see sort of how the pose looks and how we want it to not look. So I like to start the pose by bringing my arms up first. So you see that I have my arms basically aligned with my ears. And to the extent that I can, I want to keep it that way. So just watch for a moment while I do. So then we're going to squat down. And you see how I managed to keep my arms mostly pretty much upright. Most people will go kind of like this, or even like this. Stick your butt out. And this is for, those are all accommodations that if you need to do them, you can. But a better accommodation is to stay with this and to just maybe squat a little bit. Maybe that's as far as you can go. The idea here is that as you squat down, you don't want to lean your chest forward. You want to keep your shoulders back over your ears. So you do the pose kind of like so. So that's the idea. Utkatasana, powerful pose. So now I'm going to do it facing forward. Feet a little bit apart. Otherwise, a nice Tadasana, standing pose. And let's try it when bringing the arms up first. So you have that feel for how it is to have your arms aligned with your ears, basically. And then keeping that as best you can, squat down, keeping your shoulders over your hips. Breathe here. Actually, I like doing it this way because then I can see what everybody's doing. Okay, and then inhale, come up and release. Now, do as best you can, Kevin especially. Get those arms as straight as you can. I know it's hard to do, but the idea is keep the arms as straight as you can when you go into the pose. This time, just to get a different feel for it, we'll do the squat first and then bring the arms up. So let's start with hands on hips. Nice upright posture. And then squat down, keeping your shoulders over your hips. And then sweep the arms up. Utkatasana, powerful pose. It's a tough pose. And then inhale and come up. Now, one more thing I want to show. I'm going to do it this time with my butt against the wall. So anybody who wishes can do this as well, or you can just repeat the pose again. But for people who are looking for an option to make it more doable, you stand with your feet, say 6 or 8 inches from the wall. My butt is against the wall, and then I slide down like so. So now it's easy to keep my shoulders over my hips and get the arms extended. So this is a nice way to practice the pose for those who wish. So whether by wall or freestanding, one more time, let's bring the arms up and then squat down into the pose. Utkatasana, powerful pose. And then inhale and come up and step out and take a few breaths. Okay. Bakasan, dangling pendant pose. So if you have blocks or books, take them by the kind of at the edge of your mat. And then we're gonna sit down. A lot of up and down in this class. Now, the leg position can be a little challenging. If you can do it, take your legs into full lotus. But if you can't, then just cross your legs, however you wish to do it. If you do it with your legs crossed, it'll be a little harder to keep your legs in position. And then I'm having trouble with my wrists, chronically these days. So I'm keeping my hands off the edge of the block, but really you want the palms flat on the block. This is the best way. And then we're going to just lift off the floor. You kind of draw your thighs, knees up toward your chest. Okay? Take a little rest, and we'll give it another try. So once again, lift off. And if you can, you swing a little. It's the dangling pendant. And release. Now I'm going to do it one more time. You can as well. This time, using my hands on the floor, again, in a way that protects my wrist, and just lift up. And dangle. And release. All right, pretty good. Extend your legs out into Dandasana. I'm working up a sweat. Okay. Now, what's the Sanskrit name for this? It's turtle pose, kurmasan. So for this one, we stay seated, and you have your feet, your soles of your feet together, but out a little ways away from your body. Then, again, you can use your hands on your legs as leverage to really get the torso lifted and open. Then we're going to take the arms inside the legs, and then under the legs, so the hands then are on the floor, palms up. You can then kind of scoot your legs out a little further, and you can maybe catch your feet if you like, or just leave your hands on the floor. Lengthen the navel and sternum forward, and then fold into turtle pose. It's like you're in this is like sleeping turtle. The turtle drawn up inside its shell. And then ease your way up. I'm going to turn around just to be able to demonstrate a second version of this. It's the same idea. So just watch for a moment. You start the same way. Only now I'm going to kind of lean over, and I'm going to take my right hand back like so, lean over this way, take my left hand back, and then I fold into the pose. So give it a try. See where you can get it. Kurmasan. Good. All right, and then come up out of there. And let's give ourselves another little rest in downward facing hero pose. That's a pretty intense low back pose. This gives you a little relief from that low back. All right, and then we'll come up and all the way back up to a standing pose. All right, standing, feet a little bit apart. We're just going to do simple squats. So we're going to bring the arms up in Urdhva Hastasana and then squat down, all the way down. And then all the way back up. Let's go with hands on hips. Do the same thing. Squat all the way down. And then back up. And then one more time. Squat down. And back up. Okay, so now go with feet a little bit further apart. Now, for most people, when you do that squat, your heels come off the floor. So if your heels are coming off the floor for this next pose, you want to have a little bit of height. So you can take a blanket or you can fold it up or roll it up, whatever you might need to do. So that your heels will be on the height. Now, with me, I can go all the way to the floor with my heels on the floor, but most people can't do that. So then a little height is good. I'm going to do the demonstration with the height. And then come back down into your squat. Now, bring your hands, arms inside your knees and kind of work using, you can use your knees as leverage and you can kind of walk your hands forward. It's very much like what we just did in the chair a little bit ago, only now freestyle. And then take your left hand back, take your right hand back, and just rotate in that pavanmuktanasan kind of way. Just rotating through the hips. Head and neck release. And then release. Come back up. We'll do it once again. I'm going to do it facing the other way now so I can show the additional level of difficulty. And standing upright, feet apart, and squat down. Again, I'm doing it without the height under my heels, but you can use that. Again, kind of work your way through, get your torso extended, and then take your hands back again. Now, if you wish, you can see, you can put the back of your hands on your back. If I was a little more stretched out, I could probably join my fingers behind my back. Not quite today. Okay. And then again, come up. All right. So now we move to the coup de grace. We're going to give a shot at crow or crane pose. I'm a little nervous because I'm a little cramped in my space here. So we'll see how it goes. Because one of the key things when you do this pose is you have to be aware that you may tumble forward. You might somersault forward. So you have to be careful about what you would somersault into. The main thing is if you do that is to just kind of tuck and roll. So you can also fall backwards. So you want to make sure you've got space going backwards. All of that said, here's the pose. Just watch. So we come down as we've been working in all of these poses here, quite a bit here in the same pavanmuktanasan mode. And then I'm going to come forward and I'm going to kind of press my legs against my upper arms. And then I'm going to come forward like so. Working on it. There we go. All right. Bit of a struggle here. We're going to show some options to some little cheats, but you know, for now, here we go. There. So that's what it looks like. All right, give it a try. See how it works. So you come down into your squat, put your hands on the floor, out in front of you, shoulder distance apart. Bring the inner knee against your outer arm. And then you kind of bring yourself forward. And then when you get to your pivot point, your balance point, you lift your feet up off the floor. Bakasan. All right. So a couple of cheats. One cheat, and you'll see this like even in like yoga journal and stuff, people doing this without calling it a cheat, but it is a cheat, is where you come up and you actually rest your knees on your upper arms. So it looks kind of like this. So it takes less upper body strength because your weight is on your upper arms. So that's an option. The other one, if you're struggling with this and you want to give this a try, you take a chair and you bring yourself into the pose on a chair. So this is much more doable. And you can kind of get the benefits and the feel for the pose without the risks. So the idea is you have your chair secured. It's good if you can have it against the wall, but not necessary. But it might slide. And then you come into kind of the starting point of the pose, and then take one foot up, and then the other one. And then you may have to bring your hands back to where you can get your knees on or next to your upper arms. It's a tough one. Falling is not uncommon. Okay? I'm just watching people give it a try here. It's one that it's a pose that requires a great deal of concentration because the balance point is tricky. And of course, it requires strength, balance, and an ability to move through the groins. All right. Okay, I think we're good. We gave that pose. You can all be on the cover of Yoga Journal now. So, as I said, I'm going to keep the class short tonight. So we're going to go ahead and gather up what we want for Shavasana. And then we're going to return to that sequence that we began with, that pavanmuktanasan, that adho mukha pavanmuktanasan, just to relieve the kind of stress that we put ourselves through. So gather up stuff that will be for Shavasana. We'll do a few final poses, and then we go watch the Dodgers. Okay, so we're going to lie down again in Supta Tadasana, supine mountain pose. Extend the legs out straight. Lift the inner edge of the shoulder blades, chest open, outer shoulders down into the floor. And then hug the right knee into the chest, extending the left leg. So you don't have to work hard now, but just move through and reside in the space that all of those poses has created. Let the breath start to quieten, even back out. And then move through Supta Tadasana to the left side, changing the interlace of the fingers, drawing that left knee into the chest, extending the right leg. And then back through Supta Tadasana, bringing the right leg up again. Hug that right knee into the chest, extend the left leg. And then again to the left side. Hug that left knee into the chest. And then return both legs to the floor. And now hug both knees into the chest. Not too much hard work here, just a comfortable hugging of the knees and a gentle moving of the sit bones toward the floor. So we get a kind of compromise where the knees are into the chest, but the low back is able to be kind of softened, released into the floor. Now keep the knees up into your chest. Right hand on left knee, left hand out to the side. Bring the knees and feet across to the right side. To the extent that you can, keep that right shoulder on the floor. I'm sorry, left shoulder on the floor. The right one, no problem. And then back up to center. Left hand holding right knee, right hand out to the side. Bring the knees and feet across to the left side. Now keeping that right shoulder on the floor as best you can. And then back up to center. Once again, just a gentle hugging of the knees into the chest. And then keep the knees bent, but put the feet on the floor. Soften the abdomen, soften the groins, let everything start to release and quiet. And then extend your legs out onto the floor. Feet separated some number of inches. And then let the legs and feet fall out away from each other. Upper arms rotated out. Hands on the floor, palms up, or on the torso, palms down. Eyes closed. Breath quiet. Let your weight release into the floor. Soften the jaw, soften all the face and the skin and muscles of the face and scalp. Soften the throat. Let the weight of your head release into the floor. And let the neck completely release. Let your weight go completely into the floor. Follow your breath to quiet, steady state. Perhaps even into a place of complete suspension. All right, then take a few slightly deeper breaths. Awareness back to fingers and toes. Let your eyes open. If they aren't there, bring your hands to your abdomen or torso. Bend your knees and roll to your side, preferably right side. Take a few more breaths here. When you come up, keep your neck soft, bring the crown of your head up flat. So use some arm strength and push to a seated posture. All right, thank you all for coming. Go Dodgers, go out and vote if you haven't already done that. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.